Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cuppa Tea with the Vet. Hi, Eleanor. So yes,
Hello, Donna.
we have got Eleanor Flynn joining us. She's a vet. She's a cat vet, which is wonderful because we've not had a cat-only vet on now. So this is our first one. So Eleanor, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Donna. So I'm Eleanor. I've been a vet for about 10 years. I work in Oxford at the Oxford Cat Clinic. I've been there almost 9 years. So that's what I do all day, every day. I treat cats. I love cats. I mean, I can't think of anything better to do than meet cats all day, every day. And then just recently, in the past sort of 6 months, I have started a website for cat owners because I also do some work for First Vet, which is like a video consulting company. And I noticed, through the pandemic and then also working with First Vet, that vets have just so little time to talk to owners, and there's a lot of new owners, and owners just want more and more information, which they should want that information and they should get that information. But vets are leaving the profession, vets are overwhelmed with the number of new pets, and so vets just don't have time to sort of sit down and tell you everything that you need to know about diabetes in your newly diagnosed diabetic cat. So that's what I've started doing. I've started making videos for owners that they can then watch the videos in their own time. So I use them. I mean, actually, one of the reasons I started doing it is I was overwhelmed in my job and I didn't have time to do that. And I wanted to service my clients in that way. I wanted them to have the information. So I made the videos and now I can direct them to the videos. But I hope that, all cat owners can also benefit from it.
Oh, for sure. So firstly, hi, Lucy. Thanks for waving at us. Most appreciated. And hi, everybody else who's watching. So Eleanor, you just gave us a massive data blast there. So I've got a lot to go back through. So if you've been at the cat clinic for 9 years, you must have been one of the founders, because I know that clinic, but it's not that old, is it?
No, it's about 16 or 17 years.
Oh,
So,
okay. It's longer
yep.
than I thought then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
So Martha and
amazing.
Caroline run it. And then, I've been there for, almost a decade.
Yes, a long time. That's
A
amazing.
long
So
time.
most of your career, you have just done cats then?
All of my career, Donna, I've just done cats. I have
Oh, so you
never.
didn't do anything else?
Yeah, so I didn't intend on doing that. So I went to vet school. There's a whole story, we can get to that later, but I went to vet school at 28 because I suddenly realized that I could be a vet. It's not that I hadn't wanted to be a vet before that, but I realized I could be a vet. So I went to vet school and then I did work experience at a cat clinic in Ireland. So I'm Irish, obviously. So I did work experience as a student in a cat clinic in Ireland and I absolutely loved it. And then when I graduated, she called me and she said, well, do you want a job? And, I'm like mid-30s, unemployed, like a lot of debt. Everybody else is like having children, buying houses. I was like, yes, please give me a job and pay me. So I did that and it was just a temporary job. So it was for 6 months. And then, oh my God, I loved it so much. And when the 6 months were up, I sat down in the consult room with her and I cried. And I said, I just can't imagine doing anything else. I said, I can't imagine going to regular practice because I just want to work with cats. And the environment for cats is so different in just a cat clinic. It's just calm and it's quiet and everybody loves cats. In general practice, not everybody loves cats. Nobody hates cats.
No,
But,
but there's labels.
it's different, right? It's different. And I just thought, and I'd seen that as a vet student and I had experienced that. And I didn't realize that until I got this job, that there was another way that there was a way for me to avoid all of that. And so I sat down with Claire and I just cried my eyes out and I said, I just can't imagine going to general practice. And she said to me, well, I'm sure that there are cat clinics in the UK, because she was the only one in Ireland. She didn't have a job for me. She said, I'm sure there are cat clinics in the UK that need staff, but can't really afford to pay somebody that well. So I said, you email them and you offer your services for like less than the going rate. I said, I'm sure you'll get a job. And that's what I did. I compiled a list of every cat clinic in the UK. I emailed every single one of them and I got a job. And then I came with my backpack and my cat and that was it. And so I've only ever worked with cats.
That's amazing. So, I mean, my view would be that, you know, in a cat-only clinic, you've got owners of cats that are obscenely, amazingly in love with their cats, which not
Yes.
saying other people aren't, but obviously
Yes.
they've gone to that nth degree to go travel
Yep.
that bit further to make sure they
Yep.
found somebody that only does cats. And
Yes.
so that probably really helps your daily
Yes, because
happiness level.
I'm that person. So when I meet other people like that, I mean, I'm just insanely excited to meet somebody just like me because I've been like that my whole life. So I found my people and they feel like they found their person because that's what you want in a vet. That's what I would want in a vet, right? I want to put my cat in the hands of people who only love cats, who
Well,
understand, exactly what he means to me.
I'm just going to show you because this is what Donna has just said. I had vets are obviously scared of my cat. It doesn't give me much confidence. And there you go. That's your point. And it is true, you know, there are vets that are scared of cats,
Yep.
you know, because they can be bitey and scratchy and
Again.
scary, and
Yep.
especially if you don't understand them
Yep.
or have the time for it, because cats take a long
They
time
take extra
to
time. Yeah.
decide.
And at cat
um,
clinics, we give appointments extra time because we know that, right? Yeah.
and that makes the world a difference.
Huge
So
difference. Huge difference.
yeah, well done. I
Yeah, I
think we'll
mean,
probably
I've had multiple people over the years that say my cat is different here compared to other vets. And
for
it's,
sure.
it's
It's
true.
confidence.
It's confidence. They're so scared and they get so scared in general practice with his dogs and, so much stuff happening. And then they're scared if they get taken to a different room without the owner. They're scared of being handled by, people that don't know how to handle them, that don't know how to be as gentle with them. It's the whole thing is just terrifying for them. So that's why it's so important to have cat clinics and cat vets and people who get it and people who love cats. But I think we don't just need cat clinics because not everybody can go to a cat clinic and people shouldn't feel bad about that. But we need cat lovers in every clinic.
For sure, for sure. Well, you're obviously going to raise that awareness level, which is really
Yeah.
important. And I mean, I know quite a few vets that are focused on cats.
Yep.
I always say it like that. So it's not that they don't treat other animals, but they
Yep.
have done loads more training on cats as well. And I do always tell my cat owners, it is okay to go and see a cat vet because there are differences. And
Yep.
and as I've been saying, and on all of the adverts I've been doing for this, is that cats are not small dogs. So
They are not small dogs.
no,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, although some are bigger than many dogs as well. So
Yes, I have met some that are bigger than dogs. But I think the other thing about cats is that they present differently to dogs. So when you are a vet who sees predominantly dogs, and about 70 to 75% of animals that come through a general practice are dogs. So it's normal to have your presets as a vet to recognize stuff that dogs do, right? And less so recognize stuff that cats do. And so we see that cats, they present differently, things look differently, and that's not necessarily on your radar when you see so few cats. And so things get missed and things get diagnosed much later when you're not aware that you need to be looking for different things.
Cats are very secretive, aren't they?
Super secretive. So by the time they're showing you that they're unwell, they're very unwell because they've been unwell for a while usually.
Totally. So Lucy has also said, I've had cats all my life, and general vets to treat them. Mostly completely good and fine. But honestly, the day I met Eleanor with my two small cats, I realized I would never go back to general practice again. And she is the most amazing cat expert and has the most incredible love for all cats. Lucy, that's really kind of you to say. And yeah, Eleanor, I'm sure
Lucy
you're
is so sweet. Lucy made me a replica of my cat.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Isn't that
that is
adorable?
gorgeous. Yes. Well done, Lucy. That is very, very cute. Well done.
Lucy's the
And
best.
exactly. And, well done saying, Lucy, that obviously mostly seeing the other vets was good and fine. Because, it is true. But obviously it is nice also to shout the praises of seeing somebody who's specialist in that. And that is so true. I mean, it's so true for many things, because I mean, there's bulldogs not specialist, don't use the word specialist, but people that are breed specific and all sorts of things. Like you have equine vets, you have farm vets, so it makes total sense to have somebody who's got more knowledge on one particular animal. And
exactly.
And the behavior stuff is a massive thing, because that's the communication, isn't it? And if you can't have a chat, as it were,
And
Yeah,
we see that in humans. I mean, there's pediatrics, there's geriatrics, there's all, dermatologists, neurologists, we see that specialization in humans. So why not apply it to our pets as well, right? Because we know more and more about them.
absolutely. So Matthew says, hi, Donna and Eleanor.
Matthew.
Hello, thanks for joining. So I also want to, I'm obviously in the back of my head, I'm like, need to ask, how come you wanted to live in England?
I mean, I came for the job. So, there's only one, well, there's two, I think there's two now, just two. There's only one cat clinic in Ireland. And the reason she had a 6-month job is it was busy between sort of May and September, and then it's less busy for the rest of the time. So she didn't need anybody for the rest of the time. Now she hires more people because it's grown since then. But I didn't have any other option of cat clinic except to come to the UK.
How come they only had it like so busy? Was it because cats went out and got run over?
No, kitten season. It's kitten season.
Oh, really? That was the reason to be more busy.
Yeah.
How bizarre! You wouldn't even think about that, would you?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so funny. And so, so that makes a lot more sense. But wow, so your dedication has meant you've uplifted your entire life over to a different country.
Well, why not? Right? I just want to
Well,
see cats.
yes, but it's still amazing. Like, it is amazing. You shouldn't dismiss
Yeah.
how amazing that is. A lot of people don't move 5 minutes out of their own town.
Yeah,
So,
but I mean, the other thing about being in Ireland is, it's wonderful, but it is more agricultural than the UK, and so people bring their cats to the vet less. It is, a cat on your farm is a working animal, and that's great, and they have a lovely life. But I want to work with cats and treat them, and there needs to be enough cats coming to the vet, and so yeah, it's a bit more challenging in Ireland, and that's why there's so many fewer cat clinics, because there are less cats and it's changing. And this, again, this is 10 years ago, so things have moved on.
for sure. No,
So
I can well understand that. I'm originally West Country vet nurse, and
right,
I think back to how it was, living in the countryside and how veterinary was back then. It was very much more a need to do it type situation than a want
exactly.
to do it type situation.
Yeah,
And so that is just an evolution over time. Same with
yeah,
physio. I mean, when I first became a physio, I would say I'm a physio, and they'd be like, what the hell is that? Or animals need physio? What? And I still do get that, but not nearly as much as I
yeah,
used to. So,
yeah,
evolution of animal ownership and loving. I don't even like using the word ownership. There's got to be a better word than pets, right? They're just family
yeah.
members. I hate the word pet.
They are family members. Yeah, they are.
Totally. So,
I mean,
yeah.
even my dad. So my dad is old school farmer, right? Been a farmer all his life, and even to this day, he still asks me, "Are there enough cats coming to the vet that?" He's still surprised, and he's still like, there's really enough cats that come to the vet that keep you gainfully employed. I'm like, yes, 10 years later, yes, there are. So he can't even conceptualize that. And
I know
I
it
think that's
is
how, a
bizarre.
lot of people are probably.
But then I liken this to like computers. What I mean by
Yes.
that is I can't imagine wanting to work doing tapping on a keyboard all day.
Yeah.
Literally couldn't think of anything worse. And anybody who knows me knows that that's my view.
Right.
And my husband, who does that for a living, knows very much that that's my view. And so me trying to get my head around that side of things is probably just the same thing. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
people still inventing stuff for computers, really? New
Don't we have
games?
enough of
Come
that
on.
already?
It's like, aren't we done there? So yeah, I guess it does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, I must ask some more questions because
Okay.
you're
Okay.
terribly fascinating, and I probably want to talk more about
Absolutely.
Ireland. But anyway, I want to know, what do you like to do in your spare time? Because you've obviously moved over to Oxford. So have
Yep.
you managed to sort of settle in well and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, I have. So, I mean, Oxford is beautiful. So I live in West Oxfordshire. I am country through and through. So I live in a village. I love it. I love the countryside. I spend a lot of time in the countryside as much as I can. I love walking. I love foraging. So I've got into foraging in the past couple of years, and now
I
I'm
love
like
foraging.
totally obsessed. Do you? What do you forage? Do you ever find any mushrooms?
Oh, so I have a mushroom identification book, but I'm too scared to do anything with it. So,
Mm,
and I think legally wise, you're probably not supposed to. So I'm like, okay, that's
mhm.
fine. So I'll just blame that. But no, we definitely do a lot of fruit picking in the
Yeah,
summer, slow breeze,
yeah,
blackberries, and
yeah,
damsons, and then I make it all into jam.
yeah. Me too.
So yeah,
Foraging.
Yeah, no, I must admit I stick
No,
with
haven't done
jam,
that. Okay,
but you can obviously do so many things, and
so many
gifting,
things.
of course, as well.
Yes,
So
yes. And
yeah,
now in season, or it's just coming out of season now, is the wild garlic.
hmm
I don't know if you've any of that. And I find so many mushrooms. And again, same. I mean, there's a couple that I know that I can pick and that are okay, but it's more the joy of finding it rather than having to pick it. It's just so fun seeing it.
we did find a puffball mushroom once. It was literally
Love
the size
that.
of a football. It was like this. It was amazing. It made the most amazing burgers. I was just,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
puffball mushroom burger. I think that's
Wow.
probably gourmet, and I wouldn't know where to go and get a puffball other than finding it. We literally just
Me
fell over
neither.
it in the Isle of Wight. So
Wow.
yeah, that was pretty amazing. They're an easy one to identify. So
They're super
yes,
easy.
but yeah,
You know
I
you're
have
not
a
going to kill yourself with a puffball.
no, exactly. But I definitely have a lot of appreciation for living off of nature and elderberries and stuff like that as
Yeah.
well. So yeah,
Yeah.
you've got to hunt around. So yeah, that's amazing. How cool is
Yeah.
that?
Love
So
it. Love it. And
well
there's
done.
foraging courses you can go on. So if you're like scared of, killing yourself with mushrooms, you can go on like mushroom foraging courses and learn all that stuff.
Yes.
It's so
It's
fun.
on my
So, so
to-do list.
fun. Okay.
That is
Mhm.
cool. So have you done a course then?
Yeah, I've done a mushroom foraging course. And that's amazing. But I mean, there's so many, and so many of them look alike, and the consequences, I mean, mushrooms, I mean, they can just kill you within like 8 hours. So unless you really, really, really know what you're doing, you have to be so careful. So I do pick some chicken of the woods, so that's super easy to identify. And I do pick some field mushrooms, but the rest I tend to just leave because it's just too scary. But yeah, I've done a mushroom course. Oh, loved it.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Oh, that's really cool. So, but very much a summer heavy thing though, not much of a winter thing.
Yeah, don't find much in the winter, but I walk past all the places and I dream about, when it's like 6 months later and there's going to be some mushrooms there that I can pick.
That's fair enough. So Donna has also said, I noticed today that my vets has a silver cat friendly award. Not
Mhm.
sure who awarded it, but is there a national vetting system? That's a really good question, Donna.
Yeah,
Well done for
good
asking.
question. Yes, there is. So ISFM, which is the International Society of Feline Medicine, they do these, gold, silver, platinum awards, and so they're based on cat friendly criteria, so dependent on usually sort of your premises and whether you've got like a cat only ward, cat only place in your waiting room, and so all of these things that sort of help to reduce stress in cats. And so depending on how many of those you implement in your cattery and in your practice, that determines which level that you're on. So silver is pretty good. So there is better, but you'd probably need to be like a cat only clinic to achieve better than that.
That does make a lot of sense. Yeah, you've got to
Yeah,
be able to have a big difference for being the top one, haven't you? So
yeah,
yeah, that makes a
exactly.
lot of sense.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
what did make you decide to become a vet? I mean, especially at 28,
Yeah.
what's going on?
So I always wanted to be a vet, and I remember doing work experience when I was about 17 with the vet. And I went to my local vet, so it was like a farm vet. We went out on the farm, and it was a lot of time outside, and it was in February, so it was absolutely freezing, and I am not a cold weather kind of person. And then in the evening, he would do like a little bit of small animal, to see people and their pets. And and then we did one surgery. So we did I say we, but I wasn't actually involved. So he did a dog castration. So he had the dog, on its back, and he got out the shaver, like this sort of old-fashioned Bic yellow razor, and started shaving the dog scrotum. And I felt so ill. I had to leave the room. I was like, I can't be here for this. I still remember the sound of this razor on the dog. And I was like, no, I gotta go. And so I left the room and I was like, well, I can't be a vet because A, I just can't do large animals. And B, I'm way too squeamish and, I just can't do it. And at the time there wasn't even small animal vets, not, and not in the world that existed for me. Maybe there was elsewhere, but, I had a very sheltered sort of small world, and it was only, country. And I thought if I was a vet, I would have to do large animals, horses, cows, sheep, pigs, everything, and then a little bit of small animal in the evening, which is what vets did. And then also I thought, well, I'm way too squeamish. So I did other things. So I did straight out of school, I did a degree in biomedical science, and then I traveled. I did a lot of stuff. I traveled. I went to Asia. I went to Australia. And then I found my cat. So I found him as a kitten. So I was living in Malaysia, and I came home from work one day, and it's really hot in Malaysia, right? So coming into my compound, there was these two high-rise buildings, and I would walk underground through the car park. I didn't have a car, but I'd walk through the car park because it was much cooler. And I'm kind of pale, so I avoid the sun as much as I can. So I'd walk through, and then I came out at behind the security guard's desk, and the security guard was there, and I saw him throwing something sort of in the air, and I didn't really know what he was doing. And it was the end of a long day, and I didn't want to engage, and I just thought, I don't care what you're doing. So I just went to the elevator to, press the button to go home up to my apartment. And just, press the button, and I was just waiting. And then this little thing, it was like this big, it was just tiny, just ran over, how elevators, they have that recess. So it just ran in there, and it just cowered. And it was a kitten. And I realized that's what he'd been throwing in the air. And it was this tiny kitten, and it was just filthy, it was just grey. And it had ascites, was starving, was absolutely flea-ridden. And I remember just standing there, and I knew there was no pets allowed in my building, but I was standing there, and I was just looking at this tiny thing, and I thought, I can't just leave you, because obviously either you've been taken from your mom, or you've lost your mom, and this guy has got no respect for your life. So the elevator door opened, I scooped it up, I got in, and that was it. And so it was my cat, who I still have, who looks like this, but is real. And so I took care of him, and I took him to the vet and got rid of the fleas, and I saw him growing and thrive, and I was like, oh, I'm such an idiot. I should just be a vet. That's always what I've wanted to do. And by then I thought, it's so stupid. I'm not squeamish, or even if I am, I can get over that. And by then there was small animal vets. I didn't really know that there were cat vets, but by then there were definitely small animal vets. And I thought, I like dogs too. I'm very happy to, do dogs and be a small animal vet. And so that was a catalyst. And so then I went and did veterinary.
Wow, that is quite a story. And yeah, so Donna has just said thank you for clarifying. That was back on the pet friendly thing, but also Maria has said, poor baby with a little cry face.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is, but also what an amazing story.
Yeah.
That cat changed your life.
He changed my life. He did. Yeah, he
Yeah.
did. I think that all the time.
He changed each other's lives.
Yeah, I saved him, but he saved me as well.
Yeah, totally. That's amazing. So you hot-foot it back home, and that was that.
That was, well, yeah, timing was terrible. I found him on the 5th of September, just when the term time is beginning. So I had to wait a whole year. And so I went and I was living in Malaysia. So then I moved to Singapore, because I thought, so I've got 2 other degrees, and I was like, I'm not doing a 3rd degree without it being the absolute right thing for me. So I moved to Singapore. I got a job in a vet practice, as a vet tech, and just sort of a general dog's body. And so I did that for about 6 months while I was waiting, for the new term year to come around. So I worked there, and that.
So did you do your vet degree in Singapore then?
No, I just worked in the practice just for about 6 months. They were super short, the whole country super short staffed. So they just hired me, as a non-skilled person. So I would run bloods, or sometimes take history, or remove ticks from dogs and things like that.
Yeah.
So so I just did that for a while, and then
you came back to the UK for doing your vet degree.
I did my vet degree in Budapest, because
right.
because I couldn't afford to go to Ireland, because it's super. One, living in Dublin, I simply couldn't afford it, and then 2, as a postgraduate, they only take in about 10 postgraduate students per year. I didn't even apply. I don't know if I would have got in, potentially not. But I just couldn't afford it. The fees, plus living in Dublin. I don't have family that I could have stayed with. So I just went to Budapest because, I could afford it. Well, I couldn't, but I did.
I
And
know
I
what you mean. I know what you
but it
mean.
was,
And lots of vets thrive from doing it in Europe now. So it doesn't surprise me. I've had
yeah,
other vets on here who've told me where they've gone. And yeah, it's definitely something people need to look into and make sure that they're aware that they can, because the amount of debt that people get from doing it in the UK is
yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah. Well,
So,
at the time, because Britain was still part of the EU, it was easy because then I could just come and register with the RCVS. But now it's not really an option for UK people anymore, right? So,
oh, really? I didn't know that.
well, I suspect that's the case because it was, I could register with the RCVS without doing any exams because it was all EU. But now the UK is not EU, so I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but I suspect that it might have changed.
Yeah, I knew that there are certain countries you have to re-examine, but I didn't know like globally that it was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
rest of the world thing. So
yeah.
yeah, I think it's country to country, but yeah, you'd have to find out. Well,
Mhm,
still well worth knowing and still well
mhm,
worth potentially doing, because even if it just
mhm.
means an extra exam at the end, it's probably worth
Well,
it.
yeah, exactly.
So
And it was fantastic. I mean, I absolutely loved being in Budapest. It's such a great city, and it's
pretty.
so pretty, and the people are great. And it was in English, so why not, right? And the sun shines, and you've got summers, and it's really beautiful. Yeah,
It's on my visit list for sure.
yeah, you
So
should do it.
what is your favorite part of being a vet? I feel like you've answered that already.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many little things. It's not just one little thing. For me, I just love meeting cat owners who are cat owners that I'm like.
Your
Those people
people.
like Lucy, like who just love their cat. Oh my God, I just love that. I could talk to those people forever. And so it's just so amazing to see those cats. And these are cats that are cats like mine that, are found on the street or came from shelters. They're not, it doesn't have to be like some special fancy breed cat that you spent thousands of pounds on. It's just a cat, but it just worm their way into your heart and you just love them. And I absolutely love that. So I just love meeting cat owners. And then I love, I've had such an evolution as a vet. So I started, I've always had my cat for as long as I've been a vet, I've had my cat. But in the past sort of 5 years, he's had a lot of medical issues. And when that first, we all think our pet is invincible, right? Well, at least I did. When that first happened, I was so stunned that, he wasn't like invincible and that he could get unwell and that he could get ill. And, I was like, but he's my cat. How can he possibly get unwell? But he did. And he's had, I mean, he has thrown the book at me. I've diagnosed multiple things in him that I've never diagnosed in any other cat. He is such a challenge to medicate. He's, gets all the complications after all the procedures. I mean, he's just, he's so challenging. But
Typical vet
what
cat.
typical vet cat, but what it's done for me is I so much understand what people go through, because before I'd be like, oh well, just give the pills, like what's the problem? But now I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I totally get it. Anything that people are going through, I feel like I've gone through it. So feeding tubes, unable to medicate, complications after surgery, even just the stupid questions and the stupid things that run through your head when your cat is ill that are totally unreasonable, but they still pop up in your head. Like, I get it. So being able to be that for people, because that's so important as a vet, and it's so important as a cat owner to have somebody that gets it. For me, that's the best part. So it is, for me, the silver lining to having such a complicated boy.
I completely agree. Couldn't agree more. I mean, as many of my viewers will know, I have been sharing the journey of my dog and his elderly life and his
Mm,
getting more and more disabled. And, and then he eventually died in January.
mm,
And then I shared that story, my grief and all that sort of thing. And it was such a massive journey. And it has been years. It was years.
yep,
And yeah, the level of empathy and sympathy you can feel because you've been there.
yep,
I always tell my clients now, look, I have been there. I
yep,
get it.
yep,
This is hard. Talk to
yep,
me, because yeah,
yep.
until you've walked in those
Completely
shoes,
changes,
you don't.
completely changes things. To have been on the other side of the table,
Yeah,
I'm completely different.
yeah, totally.
Yep.
So Donna has also said cheeky chirpy.
He is
Sounds
so
like she knows it.
naughty. Trying to get pills into that boy. Oh my God. So when people say, oh, I can't get pills in, I'm like, yes, I understand. And I have like 7 things that you can try that I have tried. So I've got all the tricks as well.
Yeah, and well needed, and well needed. There's a brilliant thing I saw once. It was somebody shared it to me, and it was on pill popping a cat, and it was
Yep.
basically do this and then pull it out of the dustbin, and then do that, and then peel the cat off the curtain, and then do this, and
Yep.
basically 17 times of it not going right.
Yeah.
It was
And
really
then end up
hilarious.
at the ER because you have a cat bite.
Absolutely, absolutely. But they are full of spirit, and we love them to
They
bits,
are. They
and
are.
that is perfect.
Yep.
So, what part, this is funny, what part of being a vet still grosses you out? Because you've told us about the shaving balls.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not squeamish about any of that stuff anymore. And even, when I
Wow.
started, yeah, I mean, it doesn't bother me. Even when I started, my degree and started doing anatomy, because I did the first and second year simultaneously because I have a degree in physiology. So I was able to skip some classes. So I went straight into sort of dissection and things like that, and a lot of anatomy. So that stuff doesn't bother me. I don't like, it's so funny, it's maybe why I don't have children. I don't like saliva. So saliva really grosses me out. And I
It
don't
is
mean like,
gross when it's
it's
goopy.
gross. I mean, I don't mean when a cat licks you. Like I love when a cat licks me. Like that's so sweet. But when it's dripping,
You mean
and
the
like when
dripping?
they have like the shoestrings, and it's cold. It's cold,
Yes.
and that's what's so gross about it. It's cold, and it's just
And when
stringy.
it dangles and then it hits you and then peels off and then hits you again. And then it is pretty disgusting.
No,
Oh, there's a
no, it's
nice hair
disgusting.
stuck in it, and
I can't
yeah.
imagine being like, a dog. Those big dogs that have like the jowls?
Yep.
I wouldn't survive with that. Yeah, just
Yeah,
wouldn't.
I hear you. I hear, and so
Just
do
wouldn't
all
like
of
it.
our viewers because, like Lucy has just
Yeah.
said, "Ew."
Ew, it's
Thank
gross.
you,
It's
Lucy.
gross.
We
Yeah.
completely agree. I do agree. I think actually you're the first vet who said saliva, but I don't think you're the first vet that means it.
Yeah,
So
it's gross.
yeah, that's fair enough. That is a really good answer.
Yeah.
So, what would your dream achievement be if money was no object?
I mean, I have two. Can I have two?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So one is to neuter everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean all of the cats. So I would love to neuter. I mean, not everybody. I still want cats. It's not extermination
No,
program.
I was thinking you meant
But
people.
no, no, just neuter all the cats. So I would love to neuter because there is so much suffering involved in unneutered cats, stray
Yeah.
cats. About 80 to 85% of stray kittens die, right? So those kittens
Wow.
suffer. Yeah, it's a huge number. I mean, cats are prolific, so they're still increasing in number, but a lot of kittens that are born in the wild, they die, and so they suffer. And then for mom is going through like 2 or 3, and especially in like warm countries, probably 3 or 4 pregnancies per year. And
Wow.
it's just, I mean, it's so hard on her, right? And then she loses all these kittens, and I would just love to neuter. I don't necessarily think that all cats need a home or anything like that. There are plenty of stray cats that are well cared for in communities, and have nice lives and better lives than probably some pets do in really dense population dense centers. But if they're neutered, then they have an even better life. So I would just neuter. I would just absolutely love, and male cats too. Male cats have it slightly easier, but they don't get off completely. They fight and they get disease and they get
Yeah.
abscesses and they die from that too. And male cats. I mean, the last time I read, male cats' average lifespan is 3 years. Like that's
No.
insane. Yeah, yeah,
That's shocking. Whoa. I
yeah.
mean, that's just mind blowing. So 80% of stray kittens die,
Kittens. Yep.
and the average age of a stray is only 3.
Unneutered males because they get
Unneutered
they get hit
male.
by cars, they
Yeah.
get into fights, they get FIV.
Mm.
That's suffering too, right? So neutering alleviates so much suffering. It's not about, not having cats, it's about caring for the cats that we have.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, to be honest, the day I learnt in my nursing college about males having barbed penises, I was like,
Ah,
what?
yeah, yeah,
What?
yeah.
I was like, that is
Crazy.
horrendous. So
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
it's absolutely awful. So
yeah,
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 wow. That's
yeah.
some mind-blowing statistics there. That's a really very kind objective. So
Love that.
yeah.
And then the other thing that I would love, I mean, that's why I started my website. So I just want I'd love to up-level cat care for all cats all
I
over
love
the world.
this. Yeah.
Because there's so many cats that, there's many majority of cats that see vets that, are fine. I mean, they like cats, or they're ambivalent about cats, but there are definitely some cats that see vets that are scared of them, that don't like them. The problem is cat owners don't know. I think cat owners just do not know. Sometimes they do because they can see it, but veterinary is like medicine, unless you have a medical background, you don't know if you're being given all the information and all of the
Totally.
options for your cat. So
Totally.
a lot of the time, cat owners, they don't know that there is a better service, that there is better for their cat. And some people don't want that. And, to some people, they are just cats. But to people like me, I want to do everything that I possibly can. And there are thousands of me out there. And, those people,
Yes.
I want to reach those people. So, I really want to up-level veterinary care for all cats.
Totally. I mean, all of my cat clients are all you. So,
Yeah.
I don't see anyone who, like, that's not my choice. That what I
Yeah.
mean is they just don't come to me if they're not. So all the cat owners I know are so massively dedicated, it's untrue. So yeah, and it shows. It
Yeah.
shows. You can tell
Yeah.
from them all. So yeah, it's amazing. So if you could have a Facebook chat live with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
I mean, aside from you, Donna, right?
Of course.
I don't know. There's so many people. I think, I mean, I know it's very cliche, but probably David Attenborough. I really want to, hear everything that he has seen. He's had such a long career. I mean, if you look at him back, 40, 50 years ago, as a young man, I mean, it's just so incredible to think about the things that he's seen and the places he's been. So it would be incredible to have a one-on-one chat with him.
For sure. And the thing is, as well, is he's been so right for such a long time. We're only just starting to listen to what he's got to say.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
from an environmental point of view, it's like he's been saying these things for a long time,
Decades.
only just being heard. And
Yep.
so, yeah, I mean, he
Yeah.
should just be proper prime minister. So,
Yes,
yeah,
he should.
I do agree. I agree completely. So, is there anything else you want to tell us about your website or your cat clinic? Anything you want to tell everybody about that's just like, whoa, we've got this. This is amazing.
I mean, I guess with cat clinic, I would say if there's a cat clinic near you, you should go to the cat clinic. If there is not a cat clinic near you, you should ask them if they have a vet, because I think a lot of times clients don't realize that they can choose who they want to see. So you should ask your vet if they have a vet who is particularly interested in cats, because they might have somebody that absolutely loves cats and does additional cat CPD, and that person isn't necessarily on their radar. So they should definitely check to see if there is a vet with an interest in cats, and then I think you should always question more, and just try and get more from your vet and up level your cat's care, because there's just so much with cats that is that we're learning about, that is new, and I think if you're not in the cat world, you're maybe not necessarily aware of it or not actively participating in it. But cat medicine is changing so quickly, and we know so much more. I mean, when I was a kid, I thought the vet was a place that just euthanized cats, because I never had a cat that came out of the vet alive. Because the vet, go to
Wow.
the vet. I mean, it had to be pretty ill to go to the vet, but the vet never said that they could do anything. They just said, no, euthanasia. That's not true. There was one. So the one cat got caught in the trap, and came back 2 weeks later with its leg dangling, and the vet amputated. But every other cat, just nothing we can do. And that was the time, like that was 30 years ago. But even now things are changing so fast, and that is why I set up the website, because if people are not aware of this, and if you're not getting that information from your vet and you're Googling it, I mean, there's so much unreliable stuff online. So I want people to get the right information, and call out your vet if you're not, if they're not giving you what you need for your cat. Then you can demand it of your vet, because this is private industry, and we should all be holding our professionals in whatever profession it is to a higher standard, and demanding more.
And I also just want to sort of go on that fact you said about asking for more information, because I always say to people also, just, within your practice, ask if there's a cat vet, because I do absolutely encourage that. But the other thing as well, from an information point of view, is often there are nurses that are in the same boat, that are really cat focused, and they may understand a lot as well. And so sometimes you come out of your consult and ding, 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 the questions keep going. It is okay to ask the nurses. And honestly, they might well be able to explain it to you in a better way, more easier to understand way, because it might have been taught to them in a slightly less clinical way. So, use all the resources around basically to make sure you get the information. So.
For sure. And I think nurses are underutilized. They're sometimes used as like cleaners, and there's so much more skill than that, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So,
yes,
absolutely.
most definitely. So also Ramesh has said, all cats, what a great resource. Makes so much sense to have a cat specific vet for cats. Of course, absolutely. And Lucy says, good point, re-asking a general vet if there's a cat interested vet. Would never have thought of that. Thank you, Lucy. Well, I'm really glad that we managed to teach you something. That is awesome. And so this is a bit I always like to ask, what do you love about physio?
Yeah, so, I think there's a lot of parallels between what, you do and I do, right? So, for a long time, I think the veterinary profession was, a one-man band, and it was a man, and, he was doing everything, and it was just, I can do everything, and, and that's it. And, human medicine has not been like that for decades. There's a specialist for everything. There's GPs, and then a GP knows, to refer out to do various things. And we're just getting to that point in veterinary, but still a little bit behind. But you can't be all things to all animals, and healing is so much more. We're very good at prescribing medication, but healing is so much more than just treating pain and prescribing medication. So I see a physiotherapist. I have this prolapsing disc in my neck, and I mean the pain is indescribable, and it's not only pain, but it's like loss of function in my arm. And I can take painkillers. So if I was a cat or a dog with this, I would take painkillers, but that doesn't help the function of my arm. It doesn't help the problem. So I need more than that. And I think that we need to recognize that there are so many more solutions, and maybe it's partially ego in vets that, you don't want to let it go. You don't want somebody else doing it. But we need to let that go and have the very best care for our pets, because that's what our owners want. And we can do that because so many pets are insured. So we want the very best care. So we should, be using everything. It's not just, one drug or one treatment. You should be using, everything that we have to make sure that animal is as comfortable as possible for as long as possible.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That was really good of you to say. Very, very good points raised there as well. Definitely about using all professionals. And also, I will add, some of us, again, are better at cats than others. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but again, we have equine physios, we have dog physios, we've got cat physios. I treat a lot of cats and a lot of rabbits and other species. And so, again, you can find the right people for the right animals. I even have a box. I have a cardboard box with the front cut out so that I can put my hands in and the cats can be under a cover. And then I have to be flexible. But the point is that you can work. There's ways of making it more comfortable for them and stuff, and they definitely respond well to that.
I think for cats, people are so worried about bringing their cat to the vet. Anything that you can do at home, it's just wonderful. And you can teach owners to do certain things as well, right? So owners can do it at home. So, it just avoids all of those extra trips and all that extra stress.
For sure. Yeah, cats and stress, not a good combo.
Not a good combo. It's really not.
So let's talk about a bit more about you. So tell us something that nobody knows about you.
So I had a whole other life before being a vet. So, I call them the lost years, even though they weren't lost at all. And it was, I learned so much and I did so much sort of after. So I did my degree in biomedical science, and I did physiology, and then I didn't really know what to do with my life. And I did a lot of traveling. I worked with USAID, so the United States Agency for International Development in East Timor. So I was there for a little bit, and that was right after their independence. So that was amazing to be there in that time. I once had tea with their foreign minister, who then became their president, who then went on to win the Nobel Prize, and who's now actually elected to be the president again, starting in a couple of weeks. So I did that. That was so fun, in his amazing house drinking tea. Then I went to Australia. I did a lot of jobs. I made a lot of coffee in Australia, and then I saved all my money. So I was there for about 18 months, and I did about like 2 or 3 jobs at a time, and I saved all my money. And then I took 6 months, and I meticulously planned I think it was about 13,000-mile land trip I flew to Perth, and then I took buses all the way up the west coast, all the way to Darwin, then did a whole bunch of stuff around Darwin, and then got the GAN all the way down the centre back to Adelaide. And it took about 4 or 5 months. It was so fun.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was really fun. I saw so many places, and oh my God, it's so amazing. Australia is just so beautiful.
I don't think those were lost years.
No.
They were very well used years.
They were.
Because that's the thing as well, is you start your career and then you end up in a situation where you like don't have a chance to go and do those things like traveling because you're so engrossed in your career, and like stepping out of it's really hard because you've got to do CPD every year, and you're there's a million reasons why it was easier for you to travel then than now.
Exactly. And then you have a cat and you have a mortgage, and so many reasons. So I mean, at the time it was hard because when you're in your mid to late 20s, the question that everybody asks you when they see you, they're like, oh, well, what are you doing? And they think that you should have a job and that you should be established and that you should be, starting to start a family or buy a house. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm, enjoying it, and I'm traveling, and then I've got this, 13,000-mile land tour that I'm doing. So it was hard from that perspective because people, they do, or at least my family did, expect me to do, have a proper job.
Do you know what? Can I just say, for anybody listening here, this is a mental health thing here. They don't say it because they expect it. They say it because they've got nothing else to say to you. It's just a go-to question, isn't it? But you've put that pressure on yourself and gone, they want an answer. And you're like, because you're seeing it as an issue. But I ask people all the time. And to be honest, it's nothing to do with expectations. It's just that like, what do I ask?
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
But I think kicks off the conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. But I think a lot of young people feel that pressure. And
that's what I'm saying. For the sake of mental health,
they do
what I'm saying.
Yeah, they do feel that pressure. But now, I say to everybody, I'm like, you've got so much time. You've got so much time to do what you want, and it's okay to spend. It doesn't matter if it's like 2 years or 4 years doing other stuff. You've got so much time, and I think it's more normal now to change careers than to go into one thing and then stick with it your whole life, like like you used to do, or like people used to do.
They say that the average person has 5 different careers in their lifetime.
Wow. Oh, so I've got a couple more to go then.
There you go. So I think that's well true. Life is a long time, and you've got to use it, right? So you've got
to do something you love and be happy, and
absolutely. And as long as you get there in the end, and you're doing things that make you happy, then nothing else matters. So that's all good. So what is the most spontaneous thing you've ever done?
I guess there's 2 spontaneous things. So the first was becoming vegetarian. So I became vegetarian when I can't remember what age I was, but I was about 14 or 15. This is in the mid-90s in Ireland on a farm, right? So I didn't know vegetarians. I didn't even know the term vegetarian. But I read a book. I'd read a book it was about climate change. And the thing that struck me in this book, and I can't believe I even found a book on climate change. We used to have like this little bus that came to the village, and it had books. And I would just, and I'm an avid reader, so I would just get all these books and read them, and then go back the next week. So it wasn't really on climate change, the book title. It was more on food and diet, and not diet, but food. But in it made the point that farming, any type of farming, is detrimental to the environment. And I really took that on board, and it made so much sense to me. And I grew up on a farm, but I never thought about the impact of farming globally on the environment, and nobody did, because this was the mid-90s, and I was mind blown. And then I also, for a while, I'd been thinking about, abattoirs and, animals. And, it was a dairy farm, but we had animals that then ended up in the freezer and you would eat them. And so, the whole thing came together, and I was like, oh, I was just thinking about it. And I hadn't made any decision, but I was just thinking about it. And then one day at lunch, so lunch, on a farm, lunch is dinner. So it's at 1:00, because the farmer gets up at 6 in the morning. So you have your main meal at 1:00. And so, the 6 kids in my family. And so everybody was around the table, and my parents were there, and everything was put in the middle of the table, and it was just a free for all. And then my mom would cut the meat, whatever meat was, with, the electric carver. And so she would ask us for our plates, and then she would pass us back our plate with meat. And so, it came to my turn one day. There was ham, and she was just carving it. And she asked me for my plate, and I said, no, thank you. And I didn't want to make any bigger deal out of it than that. I just said, no, thank you. I mean, it's like the air was sucked out of the room. Like, her and my dad just like stared at me, and she said, what, you don't eat meat now? And I hadn't considered not eating meat. I just didn't want that meat on that day. And she was like, you don't eat meat now? And I was like, well, I guess I don't. I said, are you vegetarian? And I didn't really understand what that meant. And I was like, okay. And then I never ate meat since. And I think part of it was like the stubbornness, because the opposition that I got was like, I'm not giving in. I'm not going to let you think that your opposition is like getting me back eating meat. So that was, about probably 25 years ago, and I've not eaten meat since. So I hadn't planned it, but one day that was it.
That is very, very cool. It's funny, actually. It's a similar story for me, in that I read a book at the library about different types of vegetarianism.
Okay.
And one of them was an ovo-lacto vegetarian. And that was what I was like, that's for me. So basically, it's about different exclusions. And I went home. I was 10. I know I was definitely 10, because I remember it specifically. And I was quite surprised. My uncle's a farmer as well, so sort of had that similar type background. And I went home and I said to Mum, I want to be vegetarian. And then my mum said, well, fish isn't an option. You're eating that, and you can pick one meat. And that was, but I thought that was pretty good going. You know what I mean? That was a compromise.
It was a compromise.
And so I picked chicken, and I have never eaten the other stuff since. But I never really liked it, and I don't particularly. I mean, I don't eat any now. I do still eat fish. Can't get past fish. Yeah, it's a funny old thing, isn't it? How those books can just turn your mind, and then that's it. And so, but I was lucky. My mum was oddly supportive of it. I don't really even know why, but she was. So so that was quite good. And then yeah, they didn't really say too much. I mean, I'm sure they probably did, but I think I've blocked it out. I can't imagine that my uncle was fine with it. I'm pretty sure he ate my pet pig once. But it was fair enough. It was fair. We weren't really allowed to have the pig. And what do you do in the 80s with a pet pig that's supposed to be on a meat farm?
Yeah, probably.
We ended up with the pig because it was a runt, and my uncle was supposed to dispatch of said runt. And my mum would go, no, we look after it. So we took it home, but then you have a pet meat pig running around your living room.
And it grows to like 40 kilos.
Well, we didn't have the problem with it. The neighbour did. And it turns out we lived in a council house at the time, and you weren't allowed to have anything else. He slept on a beanbag. Like, I recognise this is not great husbandry for a pig, but
but did he have a name, this pig?
Yeah, Wompy.
Wompy the pig.
Yeah, because he used to go womp, 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 womp.
Oh, of course.
And that's how we woke up in the morning. Dad would come up and put the pig on the bed, and then he'd run up and then womp around our heads.
Oh my God, he must have been so cute.
He was so cute. He was so cute and tiny. He had really bad diarrhea at one point, which was hilarious. I know I shouldn't laugh, but it was, the poor thing was so clean, and he'd be asleep, and all of a sudden he'd go scream and run across the room with his poop going out his bum. It's because he was trying to go outside. I was like, oh, bless him. So anyway, that's our experiences.
And he would go, he'd go in the garden as well?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was just like, he was kept like a dog. I mean, like I say, it was just, that was back in the 80s, trying to save him from the alternative. So that was it. So yeah, it wasn't necessarily right. It just was what it was. So
I mean, they obviously were animal lovers to do something like that, right?
Oh yeah, my parents would they didn't hold back. Luckily, I was that lucky child that if I came home with something, I was okay to. It was okay. Came home with many things in my nursing career, particularly. It was like, oh, you've got a partridge today. Oh, you've got a this today. Oh, okay. Set up the living room, hot lamp, all that stuff. So they never had any problem with that. So So Donna has also said, this was back on our chat about changing careers. I'm about to start my third MA, follow your own path.
Yes.
And I just wanted to make sure I put that up because it's so true and right to
So
say,
true,
Donna.
so important. And so important to feel good about doing those things. You do them for yourself, and who cares what anybody else thinks.
Absolutely. And Donna, make sure you comment what your MA's on because I'm interested. So I think we've got time for one more quick question. Okay. What is the weirdest dream you've ever had?
Yeah, so I don't know if all vets have these dreams, but I have dreamt that I birthed a litter of kittens once.
Do you know, of you, that does not surprise me. Now, I have had a vet saying that they have given birth to an animal before,
really?
but you with your litter of kittens does not surprise me in the slightest. So that's hilarious. You are the official cat lady, aren't you?
I am. So I don't think I've ever dreamt about birthing like a human, but yeah, multiple times. I mean, 2 or 3 times, I've definitely dreamt about having a litter of kittens.
That's hilarious. Is it very emotional? Did it go all right though? You were safe?
Okay. Yeah, they were safe. They were all fine.
Perfect.
And I was so disappointed.
You didn't have to get the vets out.
Didn't have to get the vet out. No, thankfully, I did it all myself. But I was so disappointed when I woke up and they weren't there. I wanted the kittens. I would have kept them.
Oh, bless you. The trauma.
The trauma,
exactly. That's your inner self telling you need more cats in your life.
Well, I mean, I would, because I have a secret dream. Not so secret, but I have a secret dream of I'm obsessed with gingers, right? So my cat, he's ginger. I didn't choose ginger, he just happened to be ginger. But now I am utterly obsessed with ginger cats. So what I would love is to have a ginger in of every kind. So like a ginger Burmese, a ginger Maine Coon, a ginger Siamese. And even domestic short hairs, there's such a range of gingers. I mean, imagine coming home to that household. Like that's just pure joy. Just gingers running towards you, that's just pure joy. So that's
what you need to do. You need to put those platforms on the wall in a little rainbow shape and have one on each rainbow. That would be amazing. What good cat art.
That would be amazing.
That's it. The dream now.
But my boy is super territorial. He says absolutely no.
Fair enough. And you've got to keep them happy.
Yeah.
So Donna says refugee rights and forced migration with my on trafficking, nurse, business owner, advocate. Oh, wow. That's going to be the MA. Blimey. That is going to be intense. Good luck. That's going to make me cry. So yeah, good luck. Oh, that is going to need a lot of counselling afterwards. So yeah, very good luck. And Donna also says gingers are for life. Nice.
They are right.
Absolutely.
And they're so chatty. They're just I love the gingers.
It's fair enough. My child's also ginger, so
really
helps. So I would also like for you to tell us what is your top tip for dealing with pain before we wrap this up.
Yeah, I mean, in cats specifically, I think owners and even probably vets, it's so hard to recognize pain in cats. They hide it so well. So I think being proactive, there are studies that tell us that 60% of cats over the age of 9 are arthritic and 90% of cats over the age of 12 are arthritic. And yet the majority of cat owners I meet, even those with cats over 12, they say, no, my cat is not in pain, my cat is not arthritic, it's fine. And they might be right, but 90% is the statistic. So if you have a cat over 12, chances are they're arthritic. So I think just keeping an open mind and being aware that, probably, it's very likely your cat's in pain if they're older, and just being proactive about that, trialing medication, just having that open mind and say, you know what, I don't think they are, but I'm willing to try it. So, a few days of just trialing medication, you may see a difference. Because what I realized as a cat owner when my cat was ill, I didn't see that small, incremental, drop in how he was, because you see them every day. So you don't see that change. And then suddenly, bam, they're super unwell. But you don't see that small little bit that's happening every day for weeks or even months. But what we do see as humans, and the studies support this, we as humans are inclined to see an improvement rather than seeing a disimprovement. So, putting your cat on medication just to try it, just to say, you know what, let's try it. So that I think is really important, just to be that sort of proactive. And then I think for cats in the hospital, as cat vets, I mean, we do things like, empty their bladder, like these cats that come in that are like inpatients or that, have surgery, and that, or a lot of cats are scared, even if it is a cat clinic, it's still a hospital and they're still scared. And so they don't do things like go to litter tray. Or if they've had, broken leg and surgery, or broken pelvis, they don't necessarily want to get up and stand on the tray. And, having a full bladder, gosh, that's so hard for them, and it's so painful. So just those little things that we can do to make it just a little bit more comfortable, like emptying their bladder, and warm beds and soft things that just help with pain, like for these acute cases, is so important. And it's so overlooked. It's so easy to do, and yet so easy to miss, and I think is so rarely done for cats.
That's wonderful. So that's really great tips there. For cat owners, make sure that you are, or in fact, any owner, just make sure you're aware of decline and aware that the pain could be there, and be open-minded to pain trials and medication trials, and just keeping them comfortable and stress-free and all their needs met is going to reduce their pain. Perfect.
100%.
Thank you so much for joining us, Eleanor. I've had a wonderful time. It's been amazing. Thank you everybody for watching, and I'm going to wrap this up now. Take care, everybody. Join us next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.